There's another one. They're all stuck inside me. The burps, that is. Pause. And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, January 3rd. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Betr. We've got a 10-game slate ahead of us, and we really don't have a lot of new news that has made this one look better. This is a very difficult slate. I'm here for it. I hope you guys are as well. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Adam, how's your day?
It's been good. Not a lot of NBA news. Obviously, still waiting on some, particularly in this first game that's going to matter a lot. But it looks like a pretty fun slate, and I'm looking forward to it.
You and me both. Yeah, we do have a lot of news waiting in the 7 o'clock games, so particularly in Milwaukee. But for now, we started off in Washington. I don't think this was the news you needed to get today, but Danilo Gallinari is available just in case you were nervous about it. Highest owned guy on the Washington side is either 5% to Denny or 5% to Kyle Kuzma, which is basically the same situation on FanDuel. I have very little of the Wizards, 5% of Jordan Poole right now, actually, which if I'm going to get anybody, that feels like a fun flyer. And he's been playing a little bit better as of late, but this is not the side of the game that you're looking for.
No, tough to really want to get to anything from Washington. They are essentially healthy. They're not in a good matchup against Cleveland. They themselves aren't very good. Kuzma's pulling 5% ownership. That's fine if you're using him as a contrarian play. Doesn't stand out, but certainly somebody you can use. We have him going a little bit under owned, 8% chance of being optimal at 5% ownership. Same can be said for Avdia at 5,900. You're going a game or two from now, you're going to get a lot of ownership coming into a $6,300 Jalen Johnson. There are a lot of players. He looks really good. There are a lot of players in that range that certainly can beat him any given night. Denny Avdia for 400 less is certainly one of them, but Johnson projects better, deserves to get a lot more ownership. Tyus Jones minutes concern me. I mean, they've concerned me all year, but now you also have DeLon Wright back. That isn't likely to help his playing time. Gafford at 6,200, probably playing 27, 28 minutes, but there's a lot of pretty good mid-range centers on this slate. It's tough to like anything from Washington.
Yeah, we have 20 teams to talk about, and this is not going to be one where we have to dig in any further. So we move it to Cleveland. This is one we're going to have to talk about a little bit further. 10% ownership to Tristan Thompson, 10% ownership to Max Strus, 20 to Jared Allen, 20 to Sam Merrill, 35 to Donovan Mitchell. Let's start with the easy piece. 9,500 for Mitchell in a dream spot. I will happily play whatever I get of Donovan Mitchell, one of the best plays on today's slate.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm getting 27% right now, so a little bit below where we have the field projected, but still looks very, very good. There are obviously a lot of good players in his price range. That's just always going to be the case when you have a $9,500 guy or on FanDuel 10-4. There's a lot of good guards today. So I think it's reasonable to say that he is going over owned at 34%, but he also has one of the higher optimal percentages at 24%. I'm closer to that number, getting 27% right now, but he obviously looks good. He's averaged 38 minutes per game without Darius Garland this year. He played 38 last game, so we don't have any concerns with his conditioning from the illness that he missed time with. The matchup is great. Washington has played at the fastest pace this year. They have allowed the second most points per 100 possessions. There's nothing not to like here other than the ownership that he's getting.
Speaking of ownership that he is getting, we just pumped in our ownership update about 45 seconds ago. So if you are looking for that, it is there. The real question becomes, what in the world do we do with the rest of this Cleveland team? Are we going to get news? Let's just say this. We're projecting Sam Merrill for 24% ownership. Are we going to get news before that goes away?
I'm not. I mean, the Milwaukee-Indiana game is first, so that helps. Yeah. But I also don't really know that we're waiting on, like, for Milwaukee, potentially, if Middleton and Connaughton are out, yeah, that's opening up some value that at least would look probably better than Merrill, even if you're not going to be excited about, like, Marchand Beauchamp. But the Indiana news probably doesn't even open that much up in terms of like really cheap guys. No. This might hold. I don't see it. I'm not getting there. No. I didn't project him as well as I think the industry in general is in terms of minutes. I basically split 28 total minutes between, or 24 total minutes between him and Craig Porter, 12 apiece. We saw, Porter not play the second half last game, but there's no guarantee that Merrill's getting more minutes than him. So,
No.
I have Merrill at 12 minutes. We have 18. Industry average is around 15 and a half. I have 2%, 3% Merrill right now in those 12 minutes. But I understand why, if he was low owned, you would play him, because it is a great matchup against the Wizards. If he gets hot, he'll probably play more minutes. But I don't get it as a chalk play at all.
No, I want it to hold. I want that. I would really like him to be in 24% of lineups today.
Yeah, me too.
I have him at 16 minutes. I got 9%. Seeing that it's still here, depending on how depending on how that news breaks at 7, there's a chance that I will go take that down to 14 and just make sure that I'm not really getting him, just to, I don't want to lock Sam Merrill in on a 10-game slate today.
Right.
I would like to have that flexibility, and I would look, if that's the guy that makes me lose today, I'm more than okay with that. Yeah. So I hope that is a real thing. There's just a lot of Sam Merrills.
Yeah, I'll say, and to your point, I don't know if I'm actually going to end up at 12 minutes. That could easily end up being 14, 15, but
sure.
Either way, at that ownership, I don't think I'm going to get much.
I agree. The Tristan Thompson one, I think, looks slightly better, other than just the fact that it's a center thing. Let's talk about the guys that are getting some love. 20% to your boy, Jared Allen. 10 to Max Strus. How are you handling both of them?
I'm getting the 16% Allen, so he's my second highest owned guy from Cleveland. He's getting 21% ownership. I'm not too far off that. I'm more in line with the 15% optimal percentage. He's been playing big minutes lately. We expected that to go up without Mobley. He's got a good matchup against Washington. It's just that there are a lot of good centers. He is getting ownership. It makes it difficult for me to really jam him in, given that the ownership's already there, but certainly looks good. Max Strus only showing up about 6% for me. Fields at 10. I think he looks fine. I have him at 34 minutes. I expect, somewhere in that 34, 35 minute range. Shooting guard, small forward, 6,500. Should get plenty of open looks from 3 against this team. So he looks fine. I'm getting to 13% Tristan Thompson right now. Fields at 11. $3,200 center. I'm not playing him with Jared Allen, but right now, I would rather play him than Merrill without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think they project for similar minutes. You're obviously... it can go poorly for Thompson, where if Jared Allen plays 39 minutes, Thompson's playing 9, but Merrill could also just barely play. So there's that. And then Thompson, clearly the better point per minute guy. I'm getting to 8% of Karis LeVert. Fields at 6, 6,400 shooting guard, small forward. I'm playing him pretty similarly to Strus. I'm just getting small amounts of a lot of stuff here, with the exception of getting Donovan Mitchell in around a quarter of my lineups and getting to 16% Jared Allen.
Yeah, I have 3% LeVert, 1 share of Wade, 3 shares of Niang, 7% Okoro. That scattered amount of Thompson and Merrill. I do have 18% Jared Allen and 21% Max Strus, which I don't love, but if I'm going to love it anywhere, it's going to be in a matchup against the Wizards. 51% though of Donovan Mitchell. We'll see what that ends up looking like. Once we got that ownership update, I went ahead and reran all of my stuff, so that might change a little bit. Anything else for Cleveland right now?
No, I'm getting to the entire team, just for the most part, not a lot of it.
This next one is the one that is kind of difficult to talk about right now. That is the Milwaukee Bucks, 3.5-point favorites in Indiana, 257.5 total. Milwaukee's got a Q tag on Pat Connaughton and Chris Middleton, and those 2 Q tags carry, well, most of the weight of all the Q tags that we have for today. 14% ownership coming into Brook Lopez, single digits across the board for everyone else on DraftKings. I don't have much. Some shares of Middleton, some shares of Lillard. I don't really have any Giannis. I don't know what to do with Milwaukee right now, but I guess we'll get that information in a bit. But if everybody's in, they're not all that great.
Yeah, with everybody projected in, I'm getting to 6 guys from this team, but my highest owned guy on DraftKings right now from Milwaukee would be Dame at 10%. So I'd be 2x the field at 8,800, but it's still not like I'm taking a huge stand in terms of a high percentage of my lineups. Similarly, Giannis is getting 4% ownership. I have 7. I do think he's getting slept on a little bit, just relative to Luka in terms of ownership. That's not even a knock on Luka. It's just, this is a great game environment. Giannis is averaging 35.5 minutes per game in the games he's played with Lillard and Middleton this season. He's averaging 38 minutes per game in the games against Indiana, which there's been 4 of them. Obviously, one of them was the play-in tournament game, but like he looks great. He's averaging 46 points per game in his 4 games against Indiana. He has scored 54 actual points and 64 actual points. There's certainly the potential for him to just put up a score that you wouldn't care if he was 14K, you would need him. But, it is relatively difficult to get to him at the elevated price tag on DraftKings now. But getting a little over the field, I'm only getting 6% Lopez. He's another interesting one that I think he's difficult to project. His salary's up to 6K. He's played huge minutes in the last couple of games, but I also have a hard time going higher than 33 or 34 as a projection, even though, we just saw him play 38 in the same matchup. But I think it's a spot where if the ownership were lower, I would like him. But at 14% owned, I can just find plenty of other guys that look similar to Lopez. So I'm getting the 6% him. Only have 3% Middleton at the elevated price tag, 3% Portis, 1% Beasley. So yeah, I'm not getting a ton of this team, even though I do love the game environment. One thing that really does scare me here, and it's obviously narrative based, but we did just see it play out on New Year's Day. We know these two teams don't like each other. We know that, the history there throughout this season. New Year's Day, Milwaukee played this like a playoff game. Their main guys played all of the minutes. Like you got, like 38 minutes from Lopez, Giannis, Lillard, Beasley played like 37. If they do something like that today, you just need this entire team. But obviously you can't really expect them to do it.
No, I don't like it. Because I definitely would like to have a bunch of this one if I could. And maybe that'll end up happening. Maybe Chris Middleton will get ruled out, Pat Connaughton will get ruled out, and we'll sneak into getting to the Bucks like we wanted to before this. But for right now, I don't have a ton. That news will loom incredibly large.
Yeah, so if Middleton's in and Connaughton's out, I think it makes Portis look a little bit better. Probably makes Beasley look a little bit better. And then I'm probably still not going to be getting to too much of that wing spot that could be Jackson, could be Beauchamp. Don't even know who it's going to be, really. If Middleton is also out if Middleton's out and Connaughton's in, then clearly Dame and Giannis are going to look better. Beasley and Portis probably marginally better. Connaughton, I think, will look better. But if they're both out, then it at least opens the door to try and get Beauchamp or Jackson. Like, there's just going to be so many minutes available.
I just finished my update now. Ooh, that was a welcomed change. Yeah, I still don't really have too much from Milwaukee. I got a little bit more Dame than I had before. Didn't really stop me from getting to the giant chunk of Devin Booker that I had either. I don't have a single share of Giannis right now, which is clearly terrifying. Basically no Washington, and then 55% of Mitchell. Still a little bit more Sam Merrill than I had before, but I will correct that problem later. Indiana, also Q-tag Bruce Brown, Q-tag Andrew Nembhard. Very complicating factor, sort of. 14% ownership coming into Tyrese Haliburton is the only guy getting any love here from Indiana. I've got 23%. Let's go ahead and keep that going moving forward. Definitely like it. But the Mathurin and Bruce Brown news can matter a lot or legitimately not at all.
Yeah, because no matter what Brown and Nembhard are doing, Tyrese Haliburton's going to look good. I have 29% right now, so I'm there with you getting a lot of him. Basically 2x the field. He's pulling 14% ownership on DraftKings. He's only 10,200, 1.5 fantasy points per minute in the 4 games with Milwaukee this year, 1.57 DraftKings points per minute overall for Haliburton this year. Looks really, really good. The Nembhard and Brown pieces matter more for, I think, somebody like Benedict Mathurin, who is 5,500 shooting guard, small forward. Right now, I'm getting like 1% of him with Brown and Nembhard projected in, but he would certainly look better if they're out. Buddy Hield at 5,700 shooting guard, small forward would look better if they're both out. And even if one of them's out, they're going to start looking somewhat better. But like if Nembhard's out and Brown's in, then it's basically just what we saw last game, except the names changed from Nembhard to Brown. But they'll look okay. If they're both out, it's tough to get to, or if they're both in, rather, it's tough to get to either one. If one is out, they look okay. If both are out, they'll obviously look better. But the pieces that are going to look good one way or the other, or at least most interesting one way or the other, I think are Haliburton, clearly. Miles Turner, 3% owned, 7K center. Fine as a contrarian option. I'm only getting like 5% right now. I'm not going too crazy there. The piece I am getting right now, and it's risky. We talked about it this morning, but I like it if he's going to get no ownership. Right now, I have like 26% Isaiah Jackson. And I don't need 26%. I kind of would like that to come down. But
Sure.
I gave him 16 minutes. I gave Jalen Smith 12. I gave Turner 28. We saw Jackson play every single minute that Turner wasn't on the floor last game, played about 20. I didn't go there. I gave a handful of the center minutes to Jalen Smith, but at 16 minutes and no ownership, he's just showing up for me because right now our options are Sam Merrill, Tristan Thompson, guys like that. So yeah, the floor here is 0 minutes. Like Jalen Smith just plays the backup center minutes and you're screwed. But if Jackson just plays any amount of like anything close to the normal backup center role, he is no different than these other guys that are getting way more ownership.
Yeah, and it's so weird because you wouldn't think Isaiah Jackson matters for the Bruce Brown Nembhard news, but it really does, because if they maintain Jalen Smith at the 4, you feel so much better about Isaiah Jackson. If Jalen Smith isn't starting, then you are terrified about what's happening at the backup 5.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, I'm getting to Jackson and I projected Nembhard and Brown in, but what you're saying is, like, I'm guessing Isaiah Jackson is the primary backup center in that situation. If you take Nembhard out and say Jalen Smith is starting again, I'm confident Isaiah Jackson is the backup center, and I feel good about playing him. Right now, I like playing him because I think that I'm right, but I'm fully aware I could be wrong and he just doesn't play, and it sucks.
Yeah, it's a very, very tricky balance. We need so much news for Milwaukee and Indiana, and it is going to matter in a big, big way. I don't even know really where we started. Did you give your thoughts on Haliburton?
Yeah, I have 29%. I think he looks really good at 10-2. He's more difficult to get to on FanDuel, I think, but DraftKings, I love
it. Hell of a game, man. Hell of a game. So much news. It really is this game that has all the news and like basically nothing else.
Yeah, it's this game and then like Patrick Williams.
Yeah. Alrighty, folks. We'll keep it moving. 1,500 people here. Schedule for the rest of the day. Quite easy. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next at 6 p.m. They will take you all the way up until 7. And then I want you guys to use our avatar, stokastic.com/avatar. Grab our logo, use it on DraftKings, FanDuel, Owner's Box, or Yahoo, and you'll have the opportunity to win up to $200 in value, as long as you finish in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more entries. And tweet that result at Stokastic HOF. You get a month of whatever you want at Stokastic. That's NBA Sims, projections, ownership, lineup generator. It's a hell of a deal, particularly for something that costs you $0. This won't cost you a single cent. All you have to do is use the logo. We want to promote your success, and it makes us look a little bit better too. So click the link in the description or head to stokastic.com/avatar on your own. Alrighty. Oklahoma
Somebody
City.
asked about top, and I think you need Nembhard and Brown out.
Yeah. And even then,
to like consider it.
Yeah. He's just too far behind now.
I mean, he played like the entire second half last game.
Sure, but like on a 10-game slate, you have no confidence in being like, oh, I'm expecting Obi Toppin to play 27 minutes today.
Well, right, but like if they're both out.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like right now, you can't look at him.
Right, agreed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. If they're both out, then you can put him back in the list of things that I can think about.
Yeah, like he's probably, I haven't projected it, but I would assume like 24 minutes or so if they're both out.
Yeah, that sounds right. Oklahoma City, 1-point favorites in Atlanta, 248 total. 15% ownership coming into Josh Giddey, around 10 to Dort and Shea. Not much else coming in here. I actually thought this would look good. Atlanta plays fast. Atlanta's defense is awful. I guess these guys are just sort of priced where they should be because this is not creating the same value I was expecting.
Yeah, I think they're priced pretty much where they should be. I am seeing it pretty similarly to the field. I'm getting to 14% Giddey, 15% owned at 5,900, point guard, shooting guard. That looks fine. Playing time's been up a little bit lately. I went 26 minutes on him. Good matchup. Looks good. Dort showing up 5% for me. So is SGA. Dort's pulling 8% ownership, SGA pulling 9%. So I'm a little behind the field there, but nothing too crazy. I would probably have more SGA if I wasn't going crazy with Tyrese Haliburton, which clearly I don't have a problem with. I have Haliburton projected above SGA. I don't think that's the norm today. But I did give him an extra minute. He's averaging a little bit more playing time than SGA. It is the back-to-back for Oklahoma City coming off of that big game last night. So I went 36 minutes for Haliburton, 35 for SGA. It's just going to get me more Haliburton, which I am fine with in that game as well. Other than those three, Giddey, Dort, Gilgeous-Alexander, I have one lineup with Isaiah Joe, and that's it. Obviously, if you get to some 3% on Chet, that's fine. The only starter that I think is like actively bad, and I hate even saying this because he is so good, but Jalen Williams at 7,300. I don't know how you get to that price tag on this slate. I think any of SGA, Chet, Dort are reasonable contrarian plays, and then Giddey is clearly the best value on the team.
On the Atlanta side, only one man is pulling a lot of ownership, at least on DraftKings. We're getting 17 to Bogdanovich on FanDuel, but 31% ownership coming into Jalen Johnson, $6,300 power forward only. Single digits across the board for everybody else, single digits for me, but I am right around the field on Jalen Johnson. I have 36%. Just very clearly the best thing on Atlanta.
Yeah, I have 27% Jalen Johnson, so right around the field. Actually a little bit higher than his optimal percentage, which is 18%. So it's just, there are always pretty much every highest owned guy is going to be over owned. Some of them I end up, going along with the field. Some I don't. Jalen Johnson is one where I am around the field. He's just playing huge minutes. He's 6,300. He is at a relatively weak position, so he looks good. I'm 2x on Trae Young at 10-3, 5% ownership. I have 11%. He does take a hit in usage production when he plays with Jalen Johnson, but he's still playing massive minutes and he is reasonably priced and low owned. So I do like that. I actually have a little bit more of him than I do SGA. I think that is a function of SGA just being twice the ownership, and I have them projected very similarly. DeJounte Murray, I'm getting 6%, Fields at 4%. I have 5% of your boy Sadiq Bey, who's 4% owned. So I'm not getting to, and 1% a piece of Okongwu Capella. Jalen Johnson, the clear priority for me. I'm a bit over the field on Trae Young. Everything else, I'm pretty much just doing the same thing as the field.
I have 9% of a 4% owned DeJounte Murray, who is sort of your boy in these scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I might get a little bit more of him than I am, and I wouldn't have been mad about it. I like the price.
Yeah. The Chicago Bulls are 9-point underdogs in New York, 220 total. This one does have a piece of news that could matter. I don't know if it will matter, but it could matter. We have a Q tag on Patrick Williams. We also have a Q tag on Henry Drell, which is definitely a made-up name.
We just skip all the 8 p.m. games.
I mean, this is a 7:30 start, is it not?
I think it's
8:30. It wasn't when it was originally scheduled, if it helps.
I could just be wrong.
I hope that you are. You are not. It's an 8:30 start.
Yeah.
It is an 8:30 start. Basketball Reference had it as a 7:30 start at some point in time. It should be a 7:30 start. It's in New York. Why is this why is it an 8:30 start?
It's on ABC.
So my guess is this was originally scheduled and got moved into a national TV game at some point.
That's my guess.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, I will update that for myself because I do like when it is in the correct order. Do you want me to just kick it down the road a little bit?
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It's easier probably to just do it now because that's how it's listed on the screen. So anybody that decides to watch
can't have Jordan
show,
doing things,
Yeah. Anybody that decides to watch our show instead of like Greg and Eric, like they should, will probably have an easier time finding it if we just do it in this order.
Fair. Would have really helped if somebody shouted that shit out this morning.
I didn't notice this morning.
Right. It's easy for it to slip through the cracks. If Patrick Williams plays, the Bulls look pretty much awful. He is currently the guy I have the most.
Yeah, I don't have much of anything here. I have 4% Kobe White, 3% Patrick Williams, 1% Dosunmu, Carter, DeRozan, no Drummond, which obviously when I get to Drummond, I'm happy about it, but it's just difficult to do on this slate. Not an appealing matchup against New York. I don't think there's a lot to say here. Any of Drummond, White, DeRozan are very high upside guys that can just break a slate at 1 to 5% owned and be really useful. But on a 10-game slate, there's just a lot of guys like that. You're going to have plenty of talented players that are 5% or lower owned, and just hope you land on the right ones. I'm not landing on much from this team. Williams rather is getting 6% ownership, only 5,400. I gave him 32 minutes. If he plays, I think that's pretty much how you project him. If he's out, you can like mess around with Terry or Carter a little bit, but I still don't think it's going to have a huge impact.
Yeah, I don't think we're just going to create any like We're going to create pivots to Sam Merrill at best.
Yeah.
But that's not really going to matter if we don't get that news until after Sam Merrill's already locked.
Yeah. And to be fair, even if he's in, Javon Carter is a pivot to Sam Merrill because Sam Merrill sucks.
Very true. Very true. I don't have anything else here for this Bulls team.
Me neither.
Knicks are a little bit different. 10% ownership coming into Dante DiVincenzo, 10% ownership coming into Hartenstein, Randall, Precious Achua. We're scattering a little bit more to like Brunson, Hart, Grimes. But let's talk about the guy that I think you and I are probably going to have a ton of. What are your thoughts on $5,600 small forward, power forward, OG Anunoby?
I like him a lot. I have 23%. I thought I would probably have more. I know at least before the show started, he was in my optimal lineup, but we have him getting 30% ownership. So I guess the ownership being there is driving him down a little bit for me, but I have 23%. He played about 35 minutes in his Knicks debut. He fouled out of that game with 4 or 5 minutes to go. He played like 20 minutes in the first half. And clearly you're not going to just go project him for 40 minutes, but this is a Tibbs coached team. We know how he treats his starters. They just went out and got the guy they wanted, who is a perfect fit on this team. I went 37 minutes on Anunoby today. I have no problem doing that. I think he looks very, very good at this price. The only real question is the ownership. And like I said, I'm getting close to it. I'm just not quite at that 30% mark. I am taking pretty aggressive stand on Julius Randle right now. I have 21% of him. He's getting 8% ownership. I went 38 minutes apiece to Randle and Brunson. We saw 40 minutes from Brunson last game, 36, 37 from Randle. They generally average about 37 minutes per game. I went 1 minute higher just because you don't have Quickly soaking up minutes anymore. Obviously, you don't have Barrett either. And when you look at the rest of the Knicks, it's kind of unclear where who's taking those minutes. DiVincenzo probably plays a little bit more than he was. I do think that his playing time total last game was misleading. He got to 26 minutes in that game. He subbed in and played the final 4 minutes of the game after Anunoby fouled out. Other than that, he had pretty much the same rotation that he has had since moving to the starting lineup, where he was playing 22 minutes. I went 24 minutes on him. I do think he's somebody that the field is looking at a little bit too much. He's getting 11% ownership here at 5,100. I have 2%, and I'm fine with that. If a 5,100, there will probably be some games where DiVincenzo plays the Josh Hart role and gets like 28, 30 minutes for one reason or another. Or Anunoby gets in foul trouble. Like, it's not going to take much for DiVincenzo to step into bigger minutes any given game, but I think he's just going a bit over-owned here, so I'm not getting there, but I am getting the Randle. Right now, I am getting to 20. I know you're here with me, too. I hadn't noticed that I was. I have 20% Quentin Grimes at 3,100 shooting guard small forward. It is a terrible play. I hope it goes away. I do not want it. The one thing I will say is if Sam Merrill is going to be 24% owned and Quentin Grimes is going to be 5, I'm going to play more Quentin Grimes. They both, I don't want either one. I hope I get none of either, honestly. But if the value on this slate is going to leave us with these are our options in this price range, they are the same play to me, basically. Merrill is a little bit better because he's playing Washington, but it's not 4-1 better. Like, these guys should be the same ownership.
I have 19%. I also would like it to go away as fast as it possibly can. I have 50 of OG Anunoby, though, right now. I went 36 minutes. He is my third most exposed guy. I don't want to change a single bit of that, but I definitely want to change up that Grimes ownership. That is unappealing.
Yeah. Josh Gillum asked how many minutes for Achua. Based on last game's rotation, it's 48 minus Hartenstein. I went 34 minutes for Hartenstein, so I went 14 to Achua. If you get a Hartenstein foul trouble game, Achua will play a lot probably. I got to like 2% of him. It's another one where I think he's fine given the context of the slate right now. You are obviously live to 8 minutes like last game when Hartenstein played 40, but you could also get him alongside Hartenstein. There's nothing totally preventing that. I didn't project it, but
same.
Yeah, at 10% owned, I'm not really getting to it. If he had Quentin Grimes ownership, I would have plenty, but I expect him to just play whatever minutes Hartenstein's not on the floor.
I went 14. I have 7%. That totally seems fine given some of the other terrible shit we're getting.
I think I said I had 2. I actually have 5, which again, fine.
Interesting Knicks team for today, though. Get yourself some OG Anunoby. That'll be the fun one.
Yeah, but so is everybody else. I was really hoping that ownership was going to be lower.
Yeah. To the 8 o'clock games we go. Brooklyn Nets, 5-point dogs in Houston, 221 total. Not a lot to talk about here for Brooklyn. We got a Q tag on Dennis Smith Jr. That's about it. Highest owned guy is 4% to Bridges or 4% to Day'Ron Sharp. Most I have is 4% of Bridges. I will pretty happily skip Brooklyn.
Yeah, we're on the same page. 4% Bridges, my highest owned guy as well. I have 3% O'Neal, 2% Dinwiddie, 1% apiece on Cam Johnson, Day'Ron Sharp, Dennis Smith Jr. Pretty unappealing spot. Good defensive Houston team. Albeit no Tari Eason and no Dylan Brooks. They are starting to lose some quality defenders here, but also a slow-paced team because Fred VanVleet loves dribbling.
Middleton expected to play.
Good. I really just
Is
didn't
it?
want. Yeah, I didn't want to have to guess the right end of bench piece in a game with a 280-point total.
That's a good idea. You should probably just play Quentin Grimes instead.
Fair. Yeah, maybe I'll just delete everybody below 4K on this slate.
I can't even imagine what that would create.
I don't think I'd be getting over the field on Giannis anymore.
No.
But yeah, I'm not getting to much of anything from Brooklyn. If you have a random lineup that has any of the starters, I wouldn't bother changing it, but not a team that I am getting to.
The Houston side doesn't have a lot of ownership on the DK end. 11% to Jayshawn Tate, only guy above 6. FanDuel slightly different. Tate is 40% owned. Jabari Smith is 20. Jalen Green is 17. Alperen Şengün is 10. I have one guy heavily owned. 23%, in fact. Care to guess who that is?
Jeff Green? Amen Thompson.
Jayshawn Tate. I'm just playing
with a real player.
Yeah, gotcha. But, 4,500 shooting guard, small forward, no Tari Eason. That makes sense to me. What are you getting here from Houston?
Yeah, so what I'm getting from Houston doesn't matter because I am an idiot and I forgot to take Tari Eason out before I ran my stuff before the show. What I think I will get, so what I was getting, even with Eason projected in, was 13% Jayshawn Tate. So at 11% owned, once I take Eason out, I think I'm getting even more Jayshawn Tate probably. I'd given him 30 minutes. I think he definitely has the ability to surprise people with how many minutes he plays in this spot. I'll probably bump him. Again, I haven't taken Eason out. I'll probably bump him to like 32 minutes or something. I think I'm going to get a good amount of Jayshawn Tate at 4,500.
I have 29 minutes, but I'm still getting him. So I don't think that I'll be going too much more aggressively up.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go too much more aggressively. But like I said, at 30 minutes already, I was getting to him. Yeah. I expect him to be my highest owned guy from Houston. The part that's really interesting to me, and I am curious to see where I end up, is Jabari Smith at 6,800 is only pulling 6% ownership right now. I had given him 32 minutes thinking Eason was in. I'm going to probably go to at least 34, if not more. And he's going to start looking like a really interesting Jalen Johnson pivot at 1/6 the ownership to me. Not to say that you can't just play them together. Like, he's a good contrarian play anyway. But I'm interested to see how much Jalen Johnson I lose once I bump up my Jabari Smith minutes.
Yeah, I've got him at 34 fantasy point per minute. I only got 5% though, which I really don't like it feels like I should have more. It feels like I should be turning some of that Jalen Johnson ownership into Jabari Smith. But I think it's just the problem of Jalen Johnson really is sort of that good of a play on a per dollar basis. And I'm not going to lose Jalen Johnson. What I need to lose is like somebody else that's getting phony ownership. And that doesn't appear to be happening for me. So
yeah. To kind of go back to Tate for a second, why, he's not really being projected that highly minutes-wise across the industry. You said you have 29. I started the day at 30. He played 35 minutes against Philadelphia. That was a game with Tari Eason, without Jabari Smith, and without Dylan Brooks. So kind of similar, except obviously you expect Jabari Smith to play more than the 27 minutes Eason played. But he played 35 in that game. In their last game, New Year's Day against Detroit, he played 26 minutes. But that was a massive blowout where he played 6 minutes in the first quarter and he played 11 minutes in the second quarter. So he played 17 first half minutes in that one. Like, if he had finished that game out, basically playing the rest of the fourth quarter, which would be pretty comparable to his first half rotation, he was going to get 32 to 34 minutes again.
Yeah, I think I'm going to bump him up now that I'm looking at that with you, which, I don't really want to do.
Yeah, it's just I didn't really want to go to 30. I didn't really want to go to 30 when I did it originally, but the alternative ended up being, like, I was already giving Reggie Bullock 12 minutes. I was already giving Thompson like 18 minutes. I don't want to just start giving Thompson 22 minutes so that I don't have to give Tate more. It's been Tate playing a surprising amount of minutes so far.
We assume he just closes.
Probably. I don't see anybody that I think
who's going to usurp him, right?
Right. I don't see anybody that I think is the favorite over him.
No, same.
Any of Thompson, Holiday, Green could if like they're playing well or Tate's playing like shit or something. But
yeah,
there's no obvious answer to who closes that isn't Jayshawn Tate.
Yeah, I went up to 30 now. I do feel like I should be going slightly higher than that, but I need to figure out what 30 does to me if I'm already 2xing 11%. I think
he's just a really good play at 11%.
So like I said, I have 23 now. Giving him an extra minute, I assume that goes up, 10% or more at that point. We'll see what that balance ends up looking like. But I agree with you. I think that he looks really good at that number. He also looks, at 4,300 small forward, power forward on FanDuel, 40% ownership. That's where they're getting him.
Yeah. And people are making the Tony Snell comp. He's not that bad, but he has a 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy. He's not a good fantasy producer, but we're talking about, we both just had 20% Quentin Grimes. The field's playing 20 something percent Sam Merrill. It's not the same price, but I'll sacrifice a little bit of my top end guys to get from like Quentin Grimes to Jayshawn Tate if I can.
Absolutely. Anything else for Houston?
Van Vliet, Şengün obviously goes without saying. Jalen Green also. Any of the starters are fine, but Tate's the one that I expect to get the most of, and I am pretty interested to see where I get to on Jabari Smith. We have him at 36 minutes, by the way, which I think is extremely reasonable also.
So do I. If I go to 36, I feel like I have him projected for like 20 real points, and that I should just start. I wish I could ladder his props.
Right.
Betr. They are the sponsor. They like it when you guys hit the like button. They also really like it when you sign up there using the links either in our description or in chat, because you can get a up to $500 deposit bonus. That is insane. They'll match whatever you put in up to $500. You have $375 in your account. You want to deposit that, they're going to match it with $375. It's another pick'em site. You should be looking to beat these sites. You should be looking to take those bonus bucks right from the start. You can get 100x payout if you get 8 plays correct on Betr. That's pretty exciting. That's going to be across baseball, basketball, football, hockey, and more. Take advantage of these offers. Take advantage of deposit bonuses, and then figure out where you want to be afterwards. Odds Shopper will certainly help you if you're looking for additional plays. You got to be 21 or over. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty. Toronto Raptors, 1.5-point dogs in Memphis, 228 total. Not a lot of ownership here coming into Toronto. I thought I would get a lot of Quickly or a lot of Jake Puddle. It's just not happening. Puddle's 10% owned right now, so I only have 9 of my boy Jake. I only have 4% of Emmanuel Quickly, and I am projecting him much better than the industry is. I just feel like a matchup against Memphis, 8th in defensive rating, not exactly like a ultra fast team, even though Morant is back and that will creep up. I'm just not getting much of Toronto.
I'm getting Pirtle. I have 22% Pirtle right now.
Nice.
10% ownership. I went to 32 minutes. He played 35 2 games ago in the game where they were missing more guys than they are now. He played 37 last game. Obviously, I'm not going there, but it doesn't seem like they're looking to play Chris Boucher more minutes. Thad Young is a corpse at this point. Otto Porter is worse than that. There is the risk that in one of these games, one of Porter, Young, McDaniels, or at least one of Porter, Young, McDaniels just gets into the rotation and plays real minutes, and Pirtle goes back to like 27, 28 minutes. But based on what they've looked to do the last couple of games with Noah Chua, I am projecting Pirtle pretty aggressively, and I'm getting there. At this price, I don't mind that at all, especially because he's not getting much ownership either. Only 6,100 just looks good. Outside of that, I'm not getting a lot. I was a little surprised, like you said, that I'm not getting more Quickly, but at the same time, the field's at 2%. I'm at 7%. So,
yeah.
From a multiple standpoint, I'm over. It's just not a lot of my lineups have him. Pretty correctly priced, I think, for this matchup. Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, both showing up 3% of the time for me. Obviously, I don't have any issues with either of those guys. RJ Barrett showing up in one lineup. So Pirtle, the priority for me. Quickly, I'm a bit over the field, but not going too crazy in terms of actual exposure.
On the Memphis side, we have no Vince Williams, no Derrick Rose. Same guys that are normally out are out. The only guys getting any ownership, 27% coming into a $3,800 Bismack Biyombo, 28% coming into a $4,200 Santi Aldama. I have one of these guys as my most exposed play of the day.
I am half the field on both.
Wow. I have 64% Santi Aldama.
I think that's reasonable. How many minutes did you go to?
24.
So did I. So I think for me, it's an ownership thing. 28% ownership. We have him 17% to be optimal. We have him, I believe, also at 24 minutes, 23 minutes. So they're 23 and change. So same ballpark. I think it's just I'm turning him into some other guys. Like if Jayshawn Tate's going to be 1/3 the ownership, I already was getting the same amount of Tate as Aldama. Now I'll probably get even more. There's just enough other guys that I'm going to take shots at in larger field tournaments. But I do think Aldama is one of the better plays. He's in my optimal lineup right now. So he is somebody, if the slate started right now, at least before I had adjusted for Tari Eason being out, I would have in cash. So I think that he's one of the best point per dollar plays. It's just that there is still minutes volatility. There is obviously production volatility. There are a lot of similar options. So at that ownership, I am getting about half the field. And the same goes for Biyombo. 3,800, 27% ownership. I have 14. I think he's a good point per dollar value. I went 24 minutes on him. The problem is just, yeah, he could play 28. He could also play 20. He's not a very good point per minute guy. You are very, very likely to get a good point per dollar score that makes it actively difficult for you to win a tournament. I'm playing more Isaiah Jackson at that price. Again, it's an ownership thing. If Isaiah Jackson were to even be getting like 8 or 10% ownership, I would probably start getting more Biyombo. But if Biyombo is going to be, even call it 15 times as popular as Jackson, who is a much better point per minute guy and projects for 2/3 of the minutes, I'm going to just take my chances there.
Yeah. Oh man, Aldama. I hate this. I hate this so much. They're gonna close with Tillman.
Yeah. By the way, Biyombo,
who I don't have projected to play.
In the optimal lineup I ran before the show, which again isn't perfect because it doesn't have Jayshawn Tate, and I think probably will when I rerun it. But it did have Biyombo and Aldama. So again, I don't want to make it sound like I think they're both bad plays. I just think they're both overowned, and I'm finding alternatives in a nice chunk of my lineups.
3% Bane, no Morant, and 3% Jackson. Everything is Santi Aldama and Bismack Biyombo. Nothing feels better than that.
Yeah, 2% Bane, 1% Jackson, no Morant for me. None of them are getting ownership. Clearly, they're like the Bulls guys that I was saying. Obviously, any of them can just destroy the slate, and you need to have them. But that can be said about a lot of the good players on this slate.
The New Orleans Pelicans are 5.5-point dogs in Minnesota, 222 total. Absolutely no ownership coming into the Pelicans in this one. 1% to CJ, to Joval, and to Zion. That is pretty bleak. Matt Ryan, still out. Cody Zeller, available. Trey Murphy, questionable. Maybe you get an incrementally small amount of ownership coming in if Trey Murphy gets ruled out, but New Orleans might be the worst team on today's slate.
Yeah, they're definitely up there. 3% McCollum is my highest owned guy, along with 3% Larry Nance. 1% ownership coming into both of them. Obviously, that's fine. We saw Nance yesterday continue to play that same rotation where he's essentially splitting center minutes with Joval. If he was power forward eligible, I would absolutely love him, but he's not. Not really getting too much of anything from this team in any big amounts.
1 share of Ingram, 1 share of CJ, 1 share of Nance, 1 share of Zion, 1 share of Trey Murphy. That's it. We keep it moving. Minnesota Timberwolves side, 12% ownership coming into Nickeil Alexander-Walker, $3,500 shooting guard, small forward. 5% coming into Anthony Edwards, about 5 to McDaniels, Towns, Conley, Gobert, all of these guys. I have 2 guys at 20 pip. Care to guess?
You broke up. I couldn't hear what you said. You have 2 guys at 20%.
Yep. Care to guess?
Edwards and Gobert.
Yeah, half of it, right?
Edwards
and Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Okay. Well, Edwards and Gobert are the 2 that I have at about 20%. Mine sounds more fun.
I'm very happy about the Edwards piece. I mean, the Nickeil Alexander-Walker one is just, like every other shit play we've talked about.
Yeah, he's one, though, that I think is actively being projected wrong.
Sure.
And so I have 2%. and he's getting 12% ownership. Clearly at 3,500, he's kind of like DiVincenzo for me, where it doesn't take a lot happening in this game for him to just get more minutes. And in like foul trouble or injury to basically anybody means more minutes for Alexander Walker. But he's kind of just being projected for that to happen. And they've lately been running a rotation where he's basically just backing up Mike Conley. Jordan McLaughlin also moved into the second half rotation last game, played well. I would not be surprised at all if he gets minutes here, which is not a good thing for Alexander Walker. So like the price tag, it's not that it's a bad play. Like it's a better play than Quentin Grimes if you're ignoring ownership. But I'm not getting much of him just because I do have him projected lower than anybody else, I think. I am getting to Edwards. I am getting to Gobert. Very happy with both of those. Edwards is down to 9,100 and picked up an extra position that you can roster him at, even if it is the incorrect one. Only getting 5% ownership, so I have a nice stand on him. Gobert, I have 18%. Fields at 7. He has been playing massive minutes lately. 37 plus in at least 3 straight games. I don't remember if I went further back than that, but he's been playing huge minutes. 7,200. Like this is a spot where, I said earlier, I'm getting to Jared Allen. I love Jared Allen in general. I love the spot against Washington, but he's 7,800 getting 20% ownership. At some point, I just stop playing more Jared Allen and start playing more $7,200 Gobert at 1/3 the ownership and the same or more minutes. I went 35 Gobert. I went 34 Allen. You could obviously make the case for 35 Allen too, but I love Gobert at this ownership. I'm getting the 15% Jaden McDaniels, 4,700 small forward, 7% owned. Again, it's just where I like being able to just get to this like $4,500 range instead of the $3,500 garbage. And it's going to cost me a little bit at the top end probably, but 33 minutes or so for McDaniels at basically no ownership is just so much more appealing to me than these $3,500 guys at 10 to 20%.
I wanted to go to 35 on Gobert. I held on 34, so I only have 5%. Part of me does want to go that direction. But I have 19% of Edwards. I'm very happy to get that, especially with that added MPE. I took a minute away from Nickeil Alexander-Walker as well. So I'm thinking that, and I end up coming in around the field, which at that point, I'm fine with it. I don't have a great feel about any of these garbage value guys. So if I just have some, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that I get the Alvarado piece and not the Case and Wallace piece. Just like we talked about yesterday. Happened immediately to me. Anything else here for Minnesota?
No. So just, I guess, for my sake, do you have any issue with having an extra minute going to Gobert than Allen, or do you think they need to basically be the same?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I kind of been going back and forth on it. Like, I think it's a spot where if I just weren't getting Allen, I'd be more concerned with it. But
5 of 6 at 37 or more that's a real number.
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking too, especially because Towns just is finding a million ways to not play minutes. So
all righty. Portland Trailblazers, 11.5-point dogs in Dallas, 238 total. This is a disaster, but it probably doesn't matter. Moses Brown, questionable. Kamara, questionable. Reith, questionable. Anthony Simons, questionable. Highest owned guy right now is Jeremy Grant. This could open up later, but it really kind of depends on when we get the news. Someone could look awesome here, potentially, if it all ends up bad. Right now, I don't have anything.
Yeah, I have 1% Jeremy Grant. Obviously, what happens here does matter. It does have the potential to open some stuff up. I have all the questionable guys projected in right now, which makes everybody look pretty bad. If you were to get Reith starting at 4,700, that becomes very interesting. I don't know when we would get that news though. And, you probably would already have a lot of stuff locked, but that would become interesting. But Simons is up to 8,300, Grant 7,300, Brogdon 7,800. Sharp was significantly limited off the bench last game. If these guys are back, Henderson at 6,300, I gave him 26 or 28 minutes. I think he's still playing, but not enough that I want him at 6,300. Right now, this is a wholly unappealing team.
Yes, it is. On the Dallas side, we have no Dante Exum, Q-tag on Rashawn Holmes, 17% ownership coming into Luka, 10% ownership coming into Derek Lively, single digits across the board for everybody else. I have 2, 4, 6, 7. I have 8 different Dallas guys, but I only have Lively and Luka in 10% of lineups. The rest is 1 to 4%. The fifth starter for Dallas will be interesting.
Yeah, it will. I think it actually matters a lot. I didn't really know what to do with this team. I thought they were very difficult to project, but I do have a bit of a stand right now that I like based on the uncertainty. And again, because I think that I'm right. I went, I think 26 minutes to Josh Green. Probably should change that to like 24. But either way, he's projected for 1% ownership at 4K. I have 16%. I mean, we're going to play these other guys. Why aren't we playing Josh Green when he played 24 minutes 2 games ago? He played 21 last game. They're missing Exum now. Like, again, I think in my initial projection, I'm a little bit high, but at 1%, I like him. I'm getting the Kyrie as my highest owned guy here. I have 21% of him at 2% owned. 8,300 on DraftKings, point guard, shooting guard. I went to 36 minutes on him. Certainly could be 35, but I think he looks good at that price and no ownership at all. Like, happy to get there. Derek Lively showing up 7% of the time for me at 5,500. That's pretty close to the field. I'm only getting the 5% Luka. I think that is in part because of the ownership and in part just because there's not a lot of good value. So I do have a little bit more Giannis than Luka, but I'm playing them pretty similarly, whereas the field is just heavily prioritizing Luka over Giannis.
Mike Verderosa with the member chat. Member for 32 months. How is Reith only projected for 16.77 in 24.3 minutes? I don't know.
Good question.
Your expectation for the Dallas starter right now is?
It was Jaden Hardy. Currently, it's Grant Williams.
Yeah. I don't have a great feel for it. The thing that matters most here is that it's Portland, and maybe they don't give a shit who that starter is because it's Portland. Grant Williams feels like the guy because of Jeremy Grant to me.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense. I mean,
but I just don't know if like that's how they're looking at it either.
Right. Like that was what I was. So like Jaden Hardy started the second half in place of Exum last game. My initial thought was it's probably not going to be Jaden Hardy. But then I thought about Portland and it was like they could very easily go throw, Luka on Kamara or Thibault, whoever is starting in that spot, and be fine. So like they can go Hardy if they want to.
Yeah.
They could go like Grant Williams or Josh Green. Either one would make plenty of sense. What I probably need to do is I didn't project Seth Curry to play. I need to probably give him a handful of minutes and make this like 26 Grant, 24 Green, 20 Hardy or something like that with like 4 to 6 going to Curry. Instead of currently I have like 26 Williams, 26 Green, 22 Hardy.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of pushing me a little bit too aggressively toward, in particular, Josh Green. But that being said, I still like Josh Green at 1% ownership.
Agreed. Final two games are the 9.
Do you have any pushback on Kyrie? Because I'm kind of staring at this like he's really cheap. He's 2% owned. He's facing Portland. I like that I'm getting him. I don't understand why nobody else is.
I mean, I'm not surprised that no one else is. Like Paul George is 8,300, same price. No one's getting there. Kawhi is 8,400. He's only 5% owned. Bane is right there at 8,500. He's unowned. Like the whole range is just unowned. There's no ownership going to Brandon Ingram, Siakam, Van Vliet. Like it's not as if there's not a lot of relatively comparable guys. Do I have Kyrie projected better than those guys that I just named? Yeah, I do. But I just don't think that there's any spot to like really soak up that ownership.
So I'm also like 3 points higher than the industry in general on Kyrie.
I have him at 42. That's 3 points higher than Paul George, higher than Simons, Ingram, all of these guys that I'm naming.
How many minutes did you give him? Because I went 36.
Oh, I have 33.
Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty much where the industry is. I think it needs to be 35 or 36.
Maybe in a different game, I would. I don't know if that's this game.
Yeah. I mean, he got 32 in a blowout, massive blowout last game. Like, if this game's remotely competitive, I think he's playing 35.
Look, he's the type of guy that I'd be happy to be like well over on. We talk about this a lot. Like, that's not a crazy stand. He should cook Portland. No real ownership coming in on the Clippers side here. They are 4-point favorites in Phoenix, 233 total. There's not even an injury report for the Clippers. 5% ownership to Kawhi is the high mark. I have 5. I don't see priorities on the Clippers.
No, I mean, they're all healthy, which generally is a problem. This game definitely looks like one of the more competitive of the night, which could be nice. Like we saw with that Boston Oklahoma City game last night. But 6% Kawhi, 2% Harden, 1% George, 1% of other random garbage from this team. I don't have anything that really stands out.
12% ownership coming into Bradley Beal, 10 to Chimezie Metu, single digits everywhere else. Unless I copied this incorrectly, 53% to Bradley Beal on FanDuel, 54 to Chimezie Metu. That's happening. I've got 23% Devin Booker at 4% ownership. So I'm basically just paying up a little bit more to get Booker instead of Kyrie in your example.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I only have 4% Booker, so that makes sense to me. Booker is 1,100 more than Kyrie, but still.
Well, we're talking about it in the same way.
Right.
A star guard that is underowned.
Yeah, exactly. The guy that I'm getting the most of here on DraftKings is Bates Diop. So this is another one where I have zero confidence in this guy. He was like the first guy off the bench last game. I only gave him 18 minutes, but at 6% owned, it's just making him show up. We have him going under-owned as well, 12% chance of being optimal. So, yeah, I mean, if people want to play Sam Merrill, I'll play Keita Bates-Diop at the same ownership or same exposure level as the field.
I have 10%.
Yeah. Chimezie Metu showing up 18% for me on DraftKings at 5,100. Fields at 10. Much better play on FanDuel where he's 45 or 4,600. Looks really good there. He started last game in place of Durant, so obviously I'm going with that same assumption. Phoenix did win that game. He also was essentially the backup center, which is really nice. Azubuike played like 4 minutes in the first half. Didn't even bother with him in the second half, so that makes Metu look better. I'm getting to 18% Beal, which I'm perfectly fine with. Fields at 12%, 6,900. Bol's not getting any ownership, so I'm playing 7% because why the hell not on this slate?
Yeah.
Don't know if he stays in the rotation, but I guess I'll find out.
Yes, you will. We close it out. 8.5-point underdog Detroit Pistons in Utah, 240 total, 24% ownership coming into Alec Burks, 15 to Bojan, 10 to Cade, 10 to Duren. I am under on this entire team, including just 8% of Burks. It's not that I'm not interested in Burks. He's certainly picking up a bigger role now for the Pistons. It just feels like another situation where we got a lot of versions of him. I don't want him the same way that I don't want Sam Merrill. But I don't mind having it. It's just like I don't need a chalk play that I don't trust.
Yeah, I mean, I have 29% Burks, so I am getting to him. I only gave him 22 minutes. I didn't get too aggressive with his playing time or anything. I think it's just the shooting guard, small forward, 4,300, and obviously I do think he's a legit part of this rotation. It is the Pistons. Obviously, that can change at any time, but I am getting to Burks. He's the only guy from this team I'm getting a lot of. I have 9% of Sar Thompson. I gave him 18 minutes. He's 4,100. He's 1% owned. It's just another one. If you are priced around 4K, you are 1% owned, and I think you're in the rotation today, I'm playing you essentially. So Sar Thompson fits that bill. Bojan showing up 8% of the time, 3 to 4% on all of Ivy, Cunningham, Knox, Duren. So yeah, Burks is the only guy I'm getting a lot of.
I have 13% Bojan, 8 of Burks, 3 of Cade, 3 of Ivy, 2 of Duren, 4 of Knox. So I have a lot of Detroit, just not a gigantic stand. Great spot for it at the very least. On the Utah side, the only guys getting double-digit ownership are Jordan Clarkson at 16%, Walker Kessler at 15%. The guy that I have the most of, 13% to Lauri Markkanen.
I have 9 guys from Utah, and none of them are at 10%.
So do I.
Yeah, I have 9%.
The only guy I don't have is Olynyk.
Yep, I got 5.
Ooh, who don't you have? Akbaji?
I have 1.
George?
I don't have Markkanen. Of course. Yeah.
Great play there, dude. Glad you got O'Shea Agbaji, though.
Yeah. I did go I might be a little bit lower on Markkanen than the field generally.
Maybe.
I went 31 minutes instead of 33 or whatever he normally plays.
I have 32.
Okay, yeah. So I haven't projected about the same as us. But yeah, I'm not getting to him, which obviously feels great when I have 9 guys from this team. But their rotations have just been shit lately. I assume Kessler plays around 25 minutes. It is a pretty good price tag on him, but I'm not getting to the 15% ownership. Like I said, I only have 9. I have 6% Fontecchio, who's only 1% owned. I don't mind that. Sexton, Clarkson, and Keontae George are just playing ridiculous rotations right now. They're basically playing like 76 to 78 minutes per game. How those minutes are split up is on a game-to-game basis, essentially your guess. Over the last 3 games, it's been 32.5% to Sexton, like 33% to Clarkson, and like 34% to George. I So I went 26 George, 26 Clarkson, 25 Sexton. I got a little bit of all of them.
I went 26 to all three of them. I don't know what else to do. I know this much. I'm not going to be getting to Jordan Clarkson if he's getting ownership.
Yeah, I'm not getting the 16%. I'm getting 5.
No. I love this slate.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like I've said it a million times. I enjoy playing the slates where I can't really even describe half my plays other than, well, nobody else is playing them. So yeah, I will, because I don't like the guys that other people are playing.
Well, let's go build some lineups, folks. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Stay on this stream. Also, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Sign up at Betr. We'll talk to you later. Stay here.
Man, Christmas might be over, but Santa definitely came around to the Stokastic family this week. It's Stokastic Hall of Fame, baby. And all you got to do to get involved, get that sweet free month of any Stokastic package you want, $200 value, is download the Stokastic profile picture. It's stokastic.com/avatar. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Doesn't matter what the entry is. And tweet your wins to us at Stokastic HOF. And you're in, baby. Just like everyone we're about to talk about, some huge winners coming out of the holidays. And we kick it off with the first one on the list, Freddie P. Beautiful night for us on Sunday. Love everything about you guys. Much respect. Hey, thanks, Freddie. $15,000 up top for Freddie. And then Danielson, Merry Christmas. See what I mean? Santa came around. Got third out of 185,000 in the FanDuel quarter GPP. A couple days after trying out your Sims Max tool for the week with the holiday promo. First time using any sim, and he takes down third place for $500. Good stuff, man. And then our own Tom Kennedy, CEO, Stokastic, putting his money where his mouth is. Closest brush with a milli, rarely dabble in high stakes, but a couple things changed. Talks about the Sims tool, which won him $150,000. And then a couple days before that, Sims tool, using default settings, factory settings, chopped first place for almost $24,000. So shout out to Tom, putting up big numbers over the last week. And Sean Geezy, would this be a Hall of Fame segment without Sean? Took down the $4.20 max on DK, and then he follows it up with second and third in the $2 mini max. The guy's on the really insane heater, rocking the tools over with us at Stokastic. Shout out to Sean, as always, in the Hall of Fame. Kevin Cutler, after splitting first Thursday, I'll take another split tonight on the 40K Showdown. Hope to keep things rolling. It's all clicking right now. Yeah, man, almost $900 for Kevin. And Mo Terps with the $200 win, right? Said not all huge wins or fields, but the tools work. Trust them. Then Mo Terps slaying on Owner's Box. There's like 5 screenshots here from Mo just destroying the game over at Owner's Box. Alexis Sierra, shout out to Emax, ship my money and player Q DFS on the Saturday slate. Second win of the year. Team Stokastic, thanks for the great shows every day. That's a $1,000 win. And Justin Tope, been on a heater himself, $750 win here. Projections are on point as they've been all season. Yeah, Justin had another one too in there, just been on an absolute 10-day heater. And Matisse, I should have took down the 100K Sunday NFL rush. 2 incompletions from Dortz, just needed 1 catch. Anyway, hope this inducts me into the Hall of Fame. Yes, it does, sir. $5,000, third place. Congrats, brother. And then X Knight 360 finally took down an NBA Showdown this season using the NBA Sims tool. It works. What an absolutely amazing game between the Warriors and Celtics. Thanks to the team for your insights, tools, and support. How about Elon Musk's barber? Wow, that's interesting. Thanks to the incredible squad. It's Stokastic. Nailed my first place takedown last night. Shout out to Elon Musk's barber for that one. And Malachor back in the Hall of Fame streets. $375 win there. Thanking the boys. With Michael Campbell up next, patting himself on the back. Second in the $4 mini max, 20 max. Good call by me to global swap from Horford to Kuminga because they didn't want first or an extra 5K to lose in the next few months. Oh, I get it. That's not a pat on the back. That is self-deprecating humor there. Sorry, Michael, but congratulations. Aaron Brown, $3,000 in the 4-point play. Eric Traub crushed. Thanks for the live shows and advice. This is yesterday on Thursday Night Football. I know it doesn't count for the free months, has too many ties, and my profile picture is an EMAC 2024. Important to put that at the top for the 2024 push. But yeah, chopping the showdown for almost $12,000 and winning almost everything else. Huge night for Eric. Derek Porter, my biggest win in 10 years in the NBA 7K tiers, and won. Well, that's good stuff. Mark with a $100 win in the end, won. And then Craig with a $500 win back in the Hall of Fame streets in the NFL triple option. Tom Cross took third in the single entry 30K pylon for $1,000. Not only that, but Yvonne Ortega took $100 home in another NBA contest. They just keep coming. Alex took down the 50 cent piggy bank on FanDuel thanks to the tools and live before lock for $350. And then Bill with a $75 win, 5K plus people, free month of Sims to ring in the new year. Damn right, man. And Dingleberry Rock tagging Barack Obama in this tweet as well, as Jordan pointed out to me. $500 win in the Celebration Series free contest. That's amazing, getting second place in that with 35,000 people. So, hey, if you're still here, because I'm out of breath, download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF when you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more and get a free month. Any Stokastic package of your choice up to $200. We'll see you back here next week.
Oh, are they? Are they, Jordan Klein? They're always hot when I'm on the mic.
Hey, we got news. Nemhart's out.
There we go. Something.
What is happening, everybody? It is Wednesday. We've got a 10-game NBA slate, and Eric Lindquist and myself about to break it all down for you. We're sponsored by Betr. If you guys want to sign up at Betr, sign up using that link below. You're going to get up to a $500 bonus on your first deposit there. And of course, just support Eric and I by simply liking the video and subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you guys have any questions for us via the super chats, or if you're in Discord, one of the perks of being a Stokastic member, at me during the show in Discord so we can answer some of those questions. But Eric, how are you doing? How are you feeling about this 10-game slate with really not that many players out for the amount of games we have?
Terrible. This slate is very difficult, or at least I'm having a difficult time with it. There is no value really to speak of. We just got news for Andrew Nemhart that I don't think creates a surplus of value. I was kind of hoping both of them were going to be out, and then we could just all play the same value guys and rotate them in the Milwaukee Indy game. But as a result, you're getting Bruce Brown, who's actually active, and that's going to eat up some minutes and make me feel very uncomfortable about anything that I'm doing outside of Tyrese Haliburton in that game. So, yeah, I find it to be a very difficult slate. Normally, I would like these kind, but God, there's just not a lot of like waiting in the wings news. There's not a huge edge to it. I think it's going to really come down to trusting the Sims tool and what I'm getting here right now. And what I'm getting are some plays that make me feel very, very nauseous.
Shout out to a new member of the YouTube chat.
You had to go there right away.
who has just a very unique take on life, the show's YouTube. Shout out to Josh Englewoman in the chat, who, to be honest, it took me a while to even realize that isn't the normal Josh, because I'm looking like there's something different here. I couldn't figure out what it is, and then I go, oh, Englewoman, and then it's Josh in a wig. It's very funny. It's just some silly, harmless fun in the YouTube chat, but I've really enjoyed it. Jordan was laughing at that as well before the show started. So shout out to Josh Englewoman, and very proud to say that clearly, Eric, we're growing our demographic. We're now attracting female viewers to the show, which is new. It's only been men for the longest time, and now we've got Josh Englewoman here as well.
Yeah, Eric, am I exotic to you? No, Josh Englewoman, you are not. You are not. But carry on being yourself. We're proud of you.
Josh Englewoman. So the other thing too that I would really like, because there's certain videos that have come up on the channel in the past. If anybody wants to take one of those and Photoshop it, do some editing to put Josh in a wig, that is certainly something that would be more. What
video are you speaking of, Greg Ehrenberg?
Really, any of them. Really, any of them. But certainly one in particular. But guys, we got some super chats here, so let's go ahead and answer some of those. Starting with Phil Senzig, you know what the question is there.
Yeah.
The Lotion play of the night. Who's going to put the ball in the bucket tonight? Who's putting the ball in the basket?
Lotion play of the night. Joel Embiid did a pretty good job of that last night. I will say. Lotion play of the night. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's like the chalk lotion play of the night, but I'm on a lot of points props. How about an obscure one? Daniel Gafford. He's going to put up in a normal amount of points. 10.5 was his opening points prop, up to 11.5 juice towards the over now. And Daniel Gafford, a contrarian lotion play of the night. Put the ball in the basket, Daniel.
I'm going to go with somebody you had recently, Tyrese Haliburton. People are paying up for other guys. Dude. Not really Haliburton, and Haliburton does nothing but have big games. I don't think he's priced quite appropriately on FanDuel or DraftKings, considering his recent success. See how far back you have to go to find a game where he less than 50 fantasy points, Eric? I mean, not like crazy far back, but it's been a couple of weeks. He's very consistently had big games, 58, 70, 65, 61 fantasy points. His assist numbers have just been absurd this year as well. He never turns the ball over. He hardly ever misses shots. Haliburton is somebody who I'm about double the field with. I think that he's a little bit underrepresented by the field. Only 14% projected ownership for Tyrese Haliburton on DraftKings. On FanDuel, Haliburton at 11,200, so he's a little bit more expensive there, but that comes with him only being owned in 5% of lineups. So I think he's going to be overweight too. Tyrese Haliburton, that's our lotion play tonight, Eric.
Yeah, so 2 games ago, I mean, we were after the show, I'm like, am I really about to play 48% Tyrese Haliburton? He ends up at like, what, 12%, I think is what he was in the main iteration, 10 or 12%. So even a little bit more than was projected, but not by much. Giannis just went completely berserk, and I only had a few lineups that had both of them in it, and they were the 2 highest scorers on the slate. On another slate, Tyrese Haliburton had a ton of utility, 10-3, puts up 60. You're feeling pretty good. Obviously, Giannis at 76, he was kind of the requirement at 40% ownership, so it was quadruple the ownership of Tyrese Haliburton and got there. This one, it's the same deal, where Tyrese Haliburton's a little bit more owned, but like 10-2 is very, very different than what you're looking at here for Giannis Antetokounmpo at 11-9, and 11-9, it's so hard to get to, and that's where we're seeing the ownership come down. But like, it's the same thing as last slate, where I thought Haliburton was the better play between the two. We just had way more value on that one, so everybody got to Giannis for positionality reasons. And well, today everybody's going to be on the Haliburton side, but I don't really care. He's still the better play. The guy has a plus 8.3 offensive plus minus. He's shooting 65% true shooting. He has a 50% assist rate. I mean, come on, Tyrese Haliburton's outrageous.
Next super chat is from Ace of Spade. He wants to know the best options for DK tiers. Ace of Spade, I have you covered. So looking at tier 1, that for me is going to be Giannis. This feels like an odd tier today because they went Giannis, SGA, Trae Young.
Weird.
I love SGA. I love Trae Young's having a great year as well. They're just not Giannis from a fantasy standpoint. Yep. So tier 1, pretty clearly Giannis. Tier 2, another pretty easy one because we got Tyrese Haliburton in tier 2. He should be in tier 1, Tyrese Haliburton tonight. Yep. Tier 2, that is Haliburton. Tier 3, it's another easy one. We've got Donovan Mitchell. The first 3 are kind of no-brainers. I can't remember a slate where we've done it tiers, and the first 3, there's been like a 7, 8, 9 fantasy point gap between the top guy and the rest of them. So Mitchell in tier 3. Tier 4, here's where it gets a little bit tighter, but I'm going to go with Cade Cunningham in tier 4. In tier 5, I'm going to be going with Kawhi Leonard. Tier 6, Jared Allen. So there we have the top 6 tiers there because there are only 6 tiers to go over. But Ace of Spade, thank you very much for the super chat. Malukar, he's gifted us 5 YouTube memberships. So Malukar, thank you very much. I read ahead to the next question and it kind of stopped me in my tracks for a second. But Malukar, thank you very much for supporting the channel. And then Ocean333 wants a preparation H for the burn of the night. So there is a way that I think we can kind of look at this, Eric, which is who is the player that's picking up the most ownership tonight that is most likely to burn you and give you that chlamydia type sensation?
Wow. Sam Merrill, by far. Sam Merrill is he's the reason I hate today's slate, if we're going to be honest. Sam Merrill, it makes no sense. The guy is shooting the ball abnormally well, but now you have Donovan Mitchell back out there and them sharing the floor together. Like there's chances that Sam Merrill, his whole goal is to be out there knocking down shots and to be useful in that way. he plays 17 minutes and puts up 16 points. And it's just now Sam Merrill is going to be chalk today in a spot where he's going to play 16, 17 minutes, barring something crazy. Now, I could see this being something where it gets down to the last 6 minutes, Cleveland's up 15, and then all of a sudden Sam Merrill goes berserk and you're just kicking yourself. But like, he's a 0.91 fantasy point per minute guy, so he's not a nothing out there knocking down shots, but he's 3,400 and popping up in the Sims tool mainly because he's just got utility for the price tag. 3,400 does a lot for your lineups, gets you something else that you might not otherwise have access to, but like, there's no doubt that he is the most uncomfortable part of this entire slate going up against Washington, and it's the first game of the night too. I mean, what are you doing with Sam Merrill? Because I absolutely hate how much I have.
Yeah, just playing him right now. And it's not because I feel great about it. It's, I mean, the other options are not good. It's like you just need to find some source of cheap value today because there are so many good spend up options. And the ones that are disposal are not all that great. So, I mean, I just don't know. It's giving me like indigestion just thinking about it because we've got two choices, Eric. Either we ride with him or we don't, and we hope for other news to open up later. And then you look at the status of the injury report, and it's not very promising. It's not like we have a handful of key players that are questionable. The guys we have that are questionable on the injury report, it's Patrick Williams, it's Bruce Brown, Trey Murphy. Here's where things could change. And let me make sure there hasn't been another update on the Pacers, because this is a game that locks in, first game that locks of the slate. So we did get word. Oh, Bruce Brown is in. So Nembhard is out. Bruce Brown is in. I was going to say if Bruce Brown and Nembhard are both out.
Yeah, no, I said Bruce Brown was in, so it didn't really care. It doesn't do anything for me. I hate it.
So Patrick Williams being out, that could open up some value. Not anything crazy for the slate, but the way I'm looking at it right now, I don't love it, but I kind of feel like Sam Merrill is sort of a necessary evil.
It's weird to me that Kobe White and Patrick Williams both got dinged up, and then they're both questionable here, where Kobe White was. And now, like, I'm confused why this has happened. Like, this entire slate sucks. It's terrible. I'm trying to figure out how to handle the early pieces there. And just, I hope Patrick Williams doesn't play, but if he doesn't, do we really want to jam 3,300 Dalen Terry? Like, I guess you kind of have to. Ayo Dosunmu, where they've kind of gone back and forth deciding on who is going to close in certain lineups between the two of them. He's 4,900. I think he'd have a lot of extra utility there. We're already projecting him for 30 minutes, so I don't think Ayo's somebody that you couldn't like have a couple of shares of as is. But there's not a single thing that is comfortable about today's slate, which some people love, some people don't. But yeah, the preparation H play or burn of the night is definitely going to be any kind of early value that you play that doesn't come to fruition.
I'm going to give you a contrarian value play, kind of like because I mean, who knows what the preparation H play of the day is really supposed to be. But Isaiah Jackson, if we're looking at, so just looking at somebody who from the early game, is he fairly likely to fail? But in the event that either Miles Turner gets into foul trouble, the game ends up being a blowout, you got a guy who's a really good points per minute fantasy, but who's also really cheap, and nobody's playing him, sub 1% ownership. So there's the pivot. I'm
playing him. I have 28% of him. So
yep, fun. I've got lineups with him. I think that's the cheap way to go to be contrarian today. Is it going to work? Probably not. But in the times it does work, it's going to work out really well because this is a guy who, all right, so let's pull up.
30% of the time it works every time.
But probably less than 30%.
But probably more like 12 because the boom bust tool is telling us that.
But if we look at the numbers overall for Jackson this year, 14.5 minutes per game, nearly 18 fantasy points per game in those limited minutes. So now you start to look at, all right, what happens in a scenario where maybe he gets to 20 minutes and you go, well, then he's probably getting you like 25 to 30 fantasy points. And honestly, like this, we're really starved for value. I think that's an upside play at low ownership who can maybe help you out a little bit. So I'm not exactly sure what the preparation H burn of the night is going to be, but I'll give you a contrarian one there in Isaiah Jackson. Corey Shea says that he is getting a late start to the slate. Wants to know, what are the priority plays up top and bottom? Eric, top or bottom? Which do you prefer?
Oh, you're definitely a bottom. Let's be serious.
All right. So top for you, Eric. What are you liking up top?
Loving good chalk. Jalen Johnson, 6,300 against OKC. 125 total. Oklahoma City on a back-to-back here. Defensively, they can do things, but they're also going to push the pace. Oklahoma City and Atlanta are. So that's kind of an underrated game environment on one where everybody sees Milwaukee and Indy's total. Likely game Atlanta, Oklahoma City, and Jalen Johnson's just an active dude. I was talking about him before the season started as somebody to keep an eye on, had him on a bench of a year-long team, and was hoping that he was going to get the starts right from the get-go over Saddiq Bey. That didn't happen, and now that he was starting, then he goes and busts his wrist up. He's out there being a 1.06 fantasy point per minute guy. You project him for 34, 35 minutes here in this spot, and that is just way damn too good. We have him one of the best point per dollar plays here on the entire slate. Jalen Johnson, think he's really nice. Donovan Mitchell, unquestionably the best spend up over 9K when you consider just point per dollar against Washington. So yeah, two good pieces of chalk there up top.
All right. So for me, if we're going to, I guess, cheap, boy, I've really drawn the short end of the stick here because I have to go with the good cheap options on the slate, which don't really exist in any kind of real regularity. I'll throw Bismack Biyombo out there as a cheap center who is somebody who at least we could feel better about his minutes compared to Isaiah Jackson. Mm-hmm. He's been starting for the Grizzlies, 28 minutes for Bismack in the last game. So just somebody who's cheap that's at least got some security in terms of minutes. That's what makes Bismack Biyombo the guy who, if you're going cheap, I think is the best look for like a cash game. GPPs, I mentioned Isaiah Jackson before, if you want to be really contrarian on that low end. Next super chat that we have here is from Zachary Pinnell. Zach is asking us SGA or Haliburton for a DK single entry. And then he says, thanks, fellas. So let me go ahead and look at my exposures here. And for myself, I'm going to have to go with Tyrese Haliburton over SGA, Eric.
Yep. And I love SGA, but it doesn't matter. We're talking... I mean, there's a sizable gap between the two today in our projection. And also SGA being on a back-to-back, I think it matters a tiny bit just in terms of like, do you see that second quarter guaranteed extended run? Like it felt like they were pretty protective over everybody's minutes last night. Oklahoma City was. I know that you go out to beat Boston and do that thing, but like 37 minutes was kind of on the short end for what I thought SGA could possibly have in a game. I mean, they ended up running away there towards the end, then it got closer, and Boston did make that ridiculous comeback. But even Chet, he only played 33 minutes, which, he didn't do poorly, 37 or ish fantasy points there in that spot, but like only a 14.6% usage. Didn't feel like he was out there just being as involved. And maybe part of that is the back-to-back. Maybe it was just that other guys, role players were knocking down shots. Josh Giddey had himself a day, but, gotta think that Tyrese Haliburton, there's a noticeable gap. 58? Yeah, Tyrese Haliburton, I'm definitely going to be getting a lot more of.
There we go. And I know that because you would say, why Josh Giddey had such a good game yesterday?
I don't know.
Because you were such a big advocate for him yesterday.
No, I was not.
Yeah, absolutely you were, but not from a
fantasy
standpoint.
It
wasn't from a fantasy
standpoint. Stop it. What you're doing is not what you're doing is rude, and I don't agree with it. So I want everybody to know. Stop it. I will act like a petulant child. Stop it.
Well, then Josh Giddey's going to be there in a second to come greet you.
Oh my God, that was actually pretty good. Holy shit.
I mean, you didn't have to be outside the courtroom with the sign and everything. I get it. You support him.
Stuttering Stanley. That's exactly what it was.
Here. Super chat here. This one is from, what's funny is I immediately see like the likes and stuff coming in right there. If you guys do us favors, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want access to our Discord, I'm going to be hanging out in there for the rest of the night as soon as the show ends. Sign up for any Stokastic package below. If you want to sign up for our lineup generator package, it's the most affordable package we have at Stokastic.com, less than $15. You're going to get lineups made for you. It's also got our projections and ownership projections in there, so you can hand build some lineups based around some of the lineups and the players getting a lot of exposure to. If you want to sign up for the Sims, which helped me make a lot of money this year, sign up for those below as well. You could build your lineups on our site. You could simulate them out. So go check out all the different packages we have. And if you want to sign up, use one of the links that we have below. We've got here, Fantasy Guru 76 wants to know best value, small forward, FanDuel, and must play center. Let me pull up the FanDuel here. So for small forward, he wants to know the best value. Best value at small forward. Boy, small forward value is leaves a little bit to be wanting on FanDuel, Eric.
Cameron Johnson.
6,900. Does that count as value?
I don't know. Sure.
I'm going to say Isaac Okoro at 4,900. Also, doesn't
I
feel
said Cameron
great.
Johnson, by the way, not Jalen Johnson.
Oh, I thought you said Jalen Johnson.
No, Cameron Johnson, 5,800.
Okay. I don't mind that. I
Yeah.
don't mind that at
Hey,
all.
your boy Jayshawn Tate, Jordan Klein. You can just jam him again in the nickel. Have fun.
Yeah, actually, you know what? So Jayshawn Tate is super, super chalky. After Jordan really fired him up the other day, where Jordan's
really
like, oh,
did.
I'm getting all this. We're sitting here in the post lock show. Jordan's like, I'm getting to so much Jayshawn Tate. Should I lower it? Should I lower it? And we're trying to tell him like, no, just play Jayshawn Tate. And then the game starts. He scores like 12 real life points in the first quarter. And Jordan just immediately texts us, "Fuck, I'm a cuck bagel." So it didn't go his way.
Exactly what he
said. Word for word.
What's the word? When he said cuck bagel and I read it out loud, I just about spit everywhere. It was fantastic.
Jayshawn
and then I'm also sitting there texting while on the Zoom call, and he's giving me flack about that. He's like, "Bro, we're right here. You don't have to like heart icon the text or whatever it was."
Well, one thing I'll say about Jayshawn Tate, he is a very good value. If you're playing cash games today, I think he's the best points per dollar option there at only 4,300. He's super popular on FanDuel as well. So another one too. If you want to just go super chalky, Jayshawn Tate, Isaac Okoro is also chalky. Bogdan Bogdanovic, somebody to get overweight to at small forward on FanDuel who is not quite as popular, but 60
less of a cuck bagel. Yeah,
less of a cuck bagel. And then he wants to know must play center. So the overall best center option on FanDuel is Chimezie Metu, in my opinion.
Yes, for sure.
Metu, he just hasn't been priced up appropriately considering his change in role. So we saw Metu, and I know the Suns have kind of, moved his role around, done a lot of different things in terms of comes off the bench, he starts, his minutes are all over the place. He started last game, he played 26 minutes. As long as that is the case again, 4,600 is too cheap of a price tag for Metu. Power forward and center eligibility. That's a guy you want to be going to. I Hustle For It. I Hustle For It is saying, thanks for all you guys do. Thank you, Mr. Hustle For It. He wants to know, can I get a hair cuttery fade of the night for a high-owned great player and one value to fade? Okay, so we want one high-owned great player and then one value play to fade.
Okay, Donovan Mitchell.
Okay.
Wait, hang on a sec. There was something else. Was that the one that he said I was talking about FanDuel? Yeah, he was talking about FanDuel.
Oh, I didn't see there was.
Yep. It was a super chat that came up right after it. I remember clocking that a second ago, but I didn't read the whole thing. It was like that gif of like, I'm not reading all that. I'm happy for you, or sorry that happened to you. It's basically that. But FanDuel.
Okay, so FanDuel starting with the high-owned great player. Okay, so high-owned
Donovan Mitchell. Again, I'll go back to him. 10-4, 16% optimal percentage. That's the highest amongst any spend up over 9K.
Well, not spend up. He said high-owned player.
He's high-owned. He's 21% owned.
He is high-owned. So I'm going to go with. For me, I'm going to answer. I'll go with Metu. I already mentioned him before. Okay. Metu is somebody who, if you're playing cash games, you have to play Chimezie Metu tonight. Value play to fade. Who is a cheap guy that's picking up ownership on FanDuel that you do not want, Eric? Who is somebody that you do not want? One thing that is a little hard about this, there's only like 5 players that are projected for north of 20% ownership.
Yeah, but one of them's named Isaac Okoro.
Yeah, he shows up in some lineups for me. I'm going to have to go like a little bit. Oh, okay. So here, Bojan Bogdanovic is projected. He's not really value, though. Let's see. Oh, here's one that's picking some ownership. Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn should not have double-digit ownership on FanDuel today. We have the Jazz are finally getting healthy. Even in the games he started, he's not been playing big minutes as of late. By the way, another betting angle here. I did bet under 5.5 assists for Chris Dunn today. I think that is a very good look from a betting angle. The minutes for Chris Dunn appear to be evaporating, even though he has been starting. And that's not necessarily a good thing for him that he's in the starting lineup still, because that means he has to share usage with a bunch of other guys. Jordan Clarkson, he's clearly the guy who Utah is going to be prioritizing in terms of bigger minutes. So Chris Dunn is picking up double-digit ownership for a cheap price tag on FanDuel. That is somebody who I do not like very much. And under 5.5 assists, that is a bet to like for tonight's slate. If you guys want more bets, sign up at OddsShopper using the link below. You can use the promo code Greg or Lindy to get 20% off. How about Chris Dunn as somebody to be underweight to?
Sure, love it.
All right, there we go. You know what time it is, Eric?
I have a feeling. I'm about to commit suicide on a screen. That's my guess.
Play the nuke of the night, Jordan. Yeah. Let's have Eric explode cock and balls first. Wow. Play the animation. There he goes. Boom. He's a unit. Eric, it's your favorite time of the day. You get to tell people about how great your nuke of the night is. And today, it's a 10-game slate. It's a difficult one to navigate. Eric, who are you going with for the nuke of the night?
I mean, nuke of the night never misses. It just never misses. But there's a little bit of injury speculation that we have to play here that I think is just a little bit underrepresented because, well, it's probably the only piece of value that exists later on in the day or piece of potential news that can show up later in the day that I think could really end up crafting your lineup. So I'm going to give you a 2-for-1. My nuke of the night is either Patrick Williams or Alex Caruso. 5,400, 5,500 over on DraftKings. I don't want to be playing a crazy amount of Alex Caruso if Patrick Williams is active here in this spot, but in the event that he's not, I don't think Caruso gets enough love for being a really good fantasy producer, which is what he is. He's a 0.91 fantasy point per minute guy with stocks upside, and from time to time, you just don't have the minute certainty that exists there. They end up getting the blowout, only 21 minutes there against Philly yesterday, but we've seen 32-ish, 34-ish minutes in spots where Patrick Williams isn't there. I talked about how Ayo Dosunmu is going to be somebody who steps into a little bit of a larger role. They can close out in those regards as well. But I think Alex Caruso takes a little bit of a step up in the event. Goes from like 28-ish minutes to 31-ish, 32-ish minutes there in the event that you do not have one Patrick Williams playing basketball. But if Patrick Williams is playing, I just want to turn that Caruso into Patrick Williams because I just feel better about the fact that those minutes will be 33, 34, 35-ish because they need him on the floor against the likes of an OG Anunoby, against the likes of a Julius Randle. So I think it's a spot where it's kind of a 2-for-1. It'll be either Caruso if Williams is out or Patrick Williams. Very easy to make that swap.
You brought up my nuke of the night in that sentence there.
Did I
OG
really?
Anunoby. His price point on DraftKings makes 0 cents. 0 cents. Why is he $5,600? It's one of the dumber for a year in which DraftKings has been very tight with the pricing. They've been really proactive with news. OG Anunoby being $5,600 is wild to me. It would be one thing if the Knicks were playing him off the bench and they were limiting his role. But his first game with the team, Eric, he played 35 minutes. He started. We know that Tibbs loves to run his starters into the ground. Anunoby is regularly going to be playing 35 to 40 minutes per night for the Knicks. He can do a little bit of everything, and he's just priced incorrectly. Just a couple of weeks ago, he was $6,600 with the Raptors. Now, all of a sudden, he's in a spot with the Knicks where he's going to be playing a similar role, and his minutes can only go so much higher because he was playing a good amount with the Raptors. I just think he's underpriced here. So $5,600, OG Anunoby, that is the nuke of the night for me on DK.
I love it. I have a little bit more than the field. I will give him another little ROI boost because I do like that shout out. We just got news. Get ready for the Grand Theft Auto. Shit, here we go again. Trey Murphy out again.
All right, so Trey Murphy is going to be sitting yet again.
Much worse spot than what it was yesterday for what it's worth. And obviously the blowout completely decimated a CJ McCollum smash game that was incoming.
Yeah, the blowout negated a lot of stuff yesterday. So there was a part of me, I had a bunch of Joel Embiid yesterday where it's like Joel Embiid didn't get to play the fourth quarter. He might have scored 100 fantasy points yesterday, but also didn't have very much Kelly Oubre yesterday. And he ended up only having a mediocre game where he scored almost all of his fantasy points in the first quarter. But everything was a blowout on yesterday's slate. And Pelicans also a team that's been impacted by that lately. Is there anything you're going to be prioritizing or changing from the Pelicans with the Trey Murphy out? We've kind of seen the situation, although not exactly, because like you said, the game is a blowout and that altered minutes.
Yeah, it sucks. CJ McCollum was 7,100 yesterday against Brooklyn and got pretty low ownership. He only played 24 minutes. He just came out and was on fire immediately. 4 for 8 from 3. Everything was looking great. And then obviously they win by, what did it end up being, 37 or 27 or whatever it ended up being in the end, 27 points. There we go. we literally just saw this situation. I can look at the first half minutes. I don't think this changes anything for a J-Val Larry Nance. I think you're still looking at 26, 27 minutes for J-Val, 21-ish minutes there for Larry Nance. So it doesn't really change anything there. The question is, do we want to look to Najee Marshall again at 4,300, which is an increased price tag from yesterday where he was 3,900? That's a little bit tilting because if he was 3,900 again, I know that I would be very comfortable playing quite a bit of him here, but 4,300 is a little bit different. And, we saw 16 minutes before he got subbed out there near the top of the fourth quarter there after he got back in. And I just don't trust it enough to want to go there for 20 minutes of him. Suppose Herbert Jones, 5,500 as well, but he was 4,900 yesterday. Just sucks because they appropriately just jammed their prices up a little bit in regards to that news. Trey Murphy, back-to-back games, was expected back, and he hasn't appeared in either. Dyson Daniels was just basically a product of the blowout run. It sucks because it's against Minnesota. CJ McCollum, I'm going to get a little bit of a bump to. Brandon Ingram, I'm going to get a little bit of a bump to, but there's really no value this opens up for me.
See what else we have. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Just the whole slate kind of lacking in value a little bit. And let's see, we've got more super chats coming in. Then we'll get some of the questions that are in Discord as well. The next question, actually a lot of super chats coming in. The Beast Top TT is asking us, Royce O'Neal as a cheap forward tonight. Is Royce O'Neal making it into your lineups, Eric? I'm pretty sure he's not for me.
No. That's a no from me, dog.
Yeah, he is not showing up in my lineups. That is a no. Joseph Ramirez wants to know, oh my God, favorite 8K. You're going to have to answer this one, Eric, because I don't know. I'm going to be playing PGA tomorrow, but I've not built out any lineups. He wants to know favorite 8K range golfer for the century on DK.
Ooh, I know Sam Burns is in that 8K range. Daddy, like you. It's going to be was Sungjae Im earlier on the show? I think he was 8,100. He was the number one guy showing up in the Sims for me when I was running through a number of different things. The Sims tool now active, ready to rock for PGA. It's awesome. We also have the lineup generator if you're looking to, build out some lineups quick in the $3 and other things. But PGA is officially back, baby. And Sam Burns season on Bermuda Burns. Let's go.
Next question. Corey Shea wants to know who are a couple of our top options here under $5,400. So if we're just going like closest to 5,400, actually like Walker Kessler quite a bit. As for other
these
guys,
minutes are so hard to figure out for Utah centers. I mean, it could just be all over the place. They've had some blowouts. They're playing Collins more. I'm assuming they want to move him and get off of whatever they were deciding to do there. Kelly Olynyk is still having minutes made for him here. Kessler has gotten up to 29-ish minutes in recent times when he's actually started, but he ended up playing some blowout run against Dallas. I can't project him for over 26 minutes. I think we had him right around 27. I guess that'd be fine as well. But God, it's just such an unfortunate situation there because Kessler can be a great fantasy producer, a little bit worse than last season, sitting at 1.06 this season. But yeah, I hate clicking on that name right now.
Walker Kessler for me. If you need another option, Dante DiVincenzo at another
That's
position,
my guy.
Who played big minutes for the Knicks last game. New look team. OG Anunoby in. Jalen Brunson. Sorry, not Jalen Brunson. We had Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett get traded off the Knicks. So it was a 2-for-1 trade. Minutes opened up for somebody. It looks like DiVincenzo, the main benefactor of the players who already existed on the Knicks. So DiVincenzo and Walker Kessler for me. James Magruder, best plays at each position. Yes. So for me at point guard, that actually is going to be Tyrese Haliburton, Eric. How about for you?
Donovan Mitchell for me, but Tyrese Haliburton's close. I've got 30% of him.
Mitchell for me at shooting guard.
Mitchell for me at shooting guard too. So Alec Burks would be second.
Small forward, that is OG Anunoby for me.
OG Anunoby for me.
Power forward, that is right now Santi Aldama, unfortunately.
Oh, that's not fun. Jalen Johnson for me by a landslide.
And then center for me is Jared Allen.
It is Jakob Poeltl for me.
Now let's see what else we have going on here. Next super chat is coming to us from the Dude Shop 88. Wants to know DK tiers, please. Since it looks like Ace is not here, we actually did get a super chat from Ace of Spade earlier that we answered about tiers, but it's okay. I'll run through it again. Giannis, tier 1, tier 2, Haliburton, tier 3, Donovan Mitchell, tier 4. There's a few guys you could be going with here: Julius Randle, Damian Lillard, Cade Cunningham, the one who I landed on the most. tier 5, we've got Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam. It's, by the way, it's kind of funny now as I'm looking through that Andre Drummond is in the list of all those superstars as well. But we're going to go Kawhi Leonard in tier 5, and then tier 6, that is Jared Allen. Now let's see what we have next. Josh G wants to know, with Nembhard out, he's getting to a lot of TJ McConnell. Is that a mistake with Bruce Brown active? So McConnell played 21 minutes last game, but like you said, there was no Bruce Brown. We actually only have McConnell projected for 11 minutes tonight because Bruce Brown is back. Now, I do think those minutes have some variability to them. So I think that TJ McConnell is somebody who has playing time upside. We've seen this before. The backup guard rotation can be very complicated for the Pacers. Nembhard is going to be out for them tonight. Now, with that said, I don't think you should be playing a lot of McConnell. If you want to play some of them in tournaments, cool. I wouldn't build your slate around him, though.
Yeah, if he shows it up in a lineup or two out of a 150 set, no problem. It's absurd. He's a 1.32 fantasy point per minute guy this season. But the big problem is that you just don't know what those minutes are going to be. Yeah, if you get him 20 minutes, you feel like you won something, but then you still need him to go out and just keep this kind of a rate up. And I don't think it's sustainable.
Next question here is Zachary Pinnell, Burks or Aldama for a last man, and that is Aldama for me.
It's Burks for me.
And then Daniel Buffington, must plays for cash on DK. Yeah, absolute must plays for cash games on
Mitchell,
DraftKings.
Johnson, Anunoby, Aldama. I would go Burks in cash. I know that's not necessarily the sentiment. Oh, I said Mitchell already.
As well.
Yep.
Did you say him? I
yep.
didn't hear
Yep. It's okay.
Yeah, I would say Mitchell and Anunoby as well. I think we might have given him like an entire lineup right there, but
sure did.
A little bit of ceiling and a lot of floor for OG Anunoby. Perfect for cash there. All right, now let's get back to some of the Discord questions that we have here. And first, Cap and Akella asking us, who's a guy that we really like in single entry? I'm going to go right back to OG Anunoby.
Alex Caruso.
Steve G, why is Isaiah Jackson popping so much in Stokastic projections? So first off, he isn't really. It's not like we project him to be outlandishly good or anything like that. I'll pull up our projections right here, and we have him projected for, if I remember correctly, it's sub 20 fantasy points. All right, so Isaiah Jackson, and we just had a projections update as well. So Isaiah Jackson, we have him projected for 22.8 fantasy points. Not exactly some like massive projection. It's really one of these situations where there's a lot of variability to the minutes. And it's one of the reasons also that projections are so hard, because with starting players, it's pretty easy to project minutes, right? We know like certain guys that play 36, 37, 38 minutes every night. Some guys, like, hey, he comes off the bench, he plays this amount of minutes every day. For the Pacers, though, sometimes they play Jalen Smith. Sometimes they play Isaiah Jackson. There's not one size fits all answer for projecting the minutes for those backup guys. And that's where our data team guys like Lee and Rich do a really good job. But there is always going to be some guesswork involved with situations like the Pacers center situation. So I'm going to use this as an example, as pulling up the minutes for Isaiah Jackson. And you'll see just how they end up all over the place. There's zero consistency to the playing time of Jackson. The last 3 games, actually, I'll go farther. I'll go last 5 games because it paints a picture, Eric. 20 minutes, 9 minutes, 11 minutes, 20 minutes, 6 minutes. There's no rhyme or reason. It's not dependent on blowouts. It's not dependent on matchups. They are just all over the place with the center minutes. And you have to, if you're doing projection, you can only give 1 minute's assignment to each player. So with that in mind, we have Isaiah Jackson, not for a crazy amount of minutes. We've got him in here for 19. And because he's a good points per minute fantasy producer, it lands him at 22 fantasy points. And because the value is so shitty on the slate, and Isaiah Jackson is projected for low ownership, he's going to show up in a good amount of lineups when you run lineups through the Sims. Now, if you want to be more conservative and you don't want to take the risk of playing somebody who might legitimately only play 5 minutes, you do an ROI downgrade to him and have him not show up in as many lineups. But for the players that have low ownership on the slate and are fairly cheap, he is somebody who has 20+ minute upside and scores over a fantasy point per minute. So it's easy to see where the upside is if things break his way. But it is, like I said, very hard to project those minutes. So I can't definitively tell you exactly what he's going to play.
That was all fantastic. I'm going to add no notes, 10 out of 10.
All right. Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you. Riley Cooper, 14, left us a super chat. Best play under 5,500, not named Dante DiVincenzo. Okay. So under 5,500, but it cannot be Dante DiVincenzo. That's Walker Kessler for me.
It's not for me. God, this is tough. 5,500 not named. Alec Burks.
Okay, next question here. Mbach, Burks, or Okoro? That's Burks. Eric's going to answer the same. He doesn't even have to answer. I already know what it's going to be.
There you go. Yep.
Mr. Cool Cam, favorite player at each position on FanDuel? Yep. Pull this up right here.
Yep, I got mine
FanDuel for me at point guard, that is Bradley Beal. At shooting guard, also Bradley Beal. So I'll go Burks at point guard, Beal at shooting guard. Small forward, Cam Johnson. Power forward, Jay Sean Tate. Center, Chimezi Metu. So hopefully that helps you build your lineups there, Mr. Cool Cam. Cubby Bear, Q3. Love Şengün. Has he outpriced himself? I'm not getting to Şengün on this. I'm with you. I love Şengün. He's been awesome this year. He looks like an all-star caliber player. But honestly, we're kind of lacking value. It's hard for me to get there. I
gotta bring up one thing because the Sims tool just started pushing it, and I want to get your opinion on this because I just went to Popcorn Machine, is working through some stuff from last game. What do you think about Jose Alvarado as a piece of value?
So Alvarado played how many minutes last game?
It was a blowout, and it seems as though they kind of just kept him off the floor for he didn't get blowout runs. So I think that just means he might be part of this rotation a little bit more than we think. So let's work through it. So Jose Alvarado came in at the 5-minute mark yesterday, and then he played all the way up until the 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter there. So yeah, he only ended up playing 22 minutes, put up a serviceable fantasy game, but that's the thing with Jose Alvarado is I feel better waiting, and I can then get the Patrick Williams news. I can kind of pay attention to what happens here with Chicago's starting five. I think Jose Alvarado, I just like exponentially more. He basically replaced all the Sam Merrill that I had in my life, which I feel way better about just having later exposure.
Yeah, so I actually have Sims rerunning right now because I didn't quite have it updated for all the news. So I'll see what I end up getting to when everything runs again for me here.
I just want to get your opinion on him because I think that might have been a piece of value that I didn't necessarily recognize. And the Sims tool just did a good job of showing that to me. And so I went back and went through it and was like, oh, why am I just getting no Sam Merrill and why am I getting all of this? And thought it was a good exercise and just kind of working through it.
Yeah, I'll see what it looks like in a second here.
Okay.
Because I've got Sims running now for Alvarado. It's not like we have it's a lot of these cheap guys where people are like, hey, why is this guy projected so well? It's not. It's just all the guys who are cheap. None of them are projected all the way. We have Alvarado projected for 18 fantasy points. We have Sam Merrill projected for what was our projection on Sam Merrill? Merrill projected for 15 fantasy points. But the cheap value on the slate just leaves you so much to be wanting. You have to get to some of these guys. That is why they ultimately end up showing up in some lineups anyway.
Yeah. And Amin Thompson was somebody that I was going to play a little bit of no matter what. He played 28 minutes last game. I don't know. I think a lot of that had to do with the blowout, but even 20 minutes of him, I think he'll end up being a serviceable fantasy point per minute guy eventually. I think Amin Thompson's not the worst punt either. And again, just getting some later exposure to some of these guys rather than just playing 25% Sam Merrill.
Right, so I got my lineups running again there. Want to do it one more time. And we've got Riley Cooper 14, Kessler or Hart on DK. I prefer Walker Kessler. I think there's more. I think there's upside in Walker Kessler. It's like similar to Isaiah Jackson we talked about before, but in a different price range, where if Walker Kessler plays 26 minutes, there's potential for him to score well over 30 fantasy points at his price. Just a question of what his minutes end up looking like, kind of like what we mentioned before. But for you, Kessler or Hart? I know you said you don't like Walker Kessler.
Yeah, but I like him more than Hart.
All right. So there we go. Next question to us here is coming to us from GQ1 in New York City. What happened to Keontae George's projection? Dropped to 22 from 30.
Yeah, they've been playing a lot of Sexton. They've been playing a lot of Clarkson now off the bench because he goes for a triple-double in 30 minutes, whatever the hell that was last game. I don't really like anything from the backcourt of Utah, even though it's Detroit. It's just the prices have come up. There's more diluted playing time. Sexton was out of the rotation once upon a time, and now they're just giving minutes to all these guys. It's really hard to pinpoint.
Next question is from Einstein. He wants to know, are we playing McConnell tonight? So I'm only playing 20 lineups, and that was not enough for me to get to TJ McConnell.
Yeah, I wouldn't play him in 20 laps for sure. I mean, you would need to get to like 100 to get him in one for me.
Next question. We got a super chat from Eric Traub. So from Eric to Eric here. DK utility 3,600 and under. Is Bol playable? Small field tournament. 3,600 and under. I would not play Bol. Do you feel differently?
No, and I love Bol. I've played craps with Bol once upon a time in Vegas. Those are great times. NBA Summer League. Those are the best days to go to Vegas for
I keep
sure.
telling you,
walk
by the
around
way,
the casino.
Taking a shit on somebody's face, that's not the same as craps, Eric. It's different. I don't care how much money you paid for it. It's still a different activity. Sorry, what were you going to say? I felt it was necessary to insert that.
7 minutes until I get out of here. Okay, that's good. I can make it 7 more minutes. No, I would not play Bol. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, same for me. No Bol. Can we give him somebody else 36 or 100 utility?
Why don't you give him somebody else, you amazing human being? That's what I was going to say. You're an amazing human being.
Thank you. I'm actually kind of surprised you said that. Unfortunately, the answer kind of has to be we have to say Sam Merrill here. The options are terrible, 3,600 and under.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I'll give you a pivot. Precious Achiuwa. It was somebody you had brought up earlier as well. There is a chance that Achiuwa ends up playing a little bit more minutes here. So if you're trying to get a little bit different, I would say Achiuwa as a fine option. Do you end up getting
Achiuwa? No, sorry. Yeah, no, I didn't.
See, and that's why everything I say is justified. Everything. Next question. From Warren. Favorite center on DK not named Giannis?
I do have 4% Achiuwa for what it's worth.
Jared Allen for me. Who's your favorite center who's not Giannis?
Oh, that isn't that Jakob Poeltl.
Next question.
There's no Precious Achiuwa there. Jakob Poeltl is a true center, and nobody wants to play him today. I'll play all of the I'll play all the Jakob Poeltl.
I guess. I mean, Achiuwa was playing 0 minutes before getting traded, so I felt like it didn't really have that much of a difference.
But I'm saying once upon a time at the beginning of the season, they were splitting, and now it's just because Jakob Poeltl's played really, really well, and I don't think he's getting enough ownership today against Memphis. That's just me. He played 35 and 37 minutes the last 2 games, and he's only 12%. That seems silly to me.
JEW wants to know, just got here, must plays for FanDuel and DK single entry. Must plays, Eric.
DK. Well, I mean, I'll just tell you who I have in my single entry lineup. We got Mitchell, Anunoby, Johnson, the aforementioned Poeltl, Patrick Williams. Lots of guys.
For FanDuel purposes, I'm going to say Jayshawn Tate. You really want to play him. Super cheap. Jordan Klein, listen to that. Play some Jayshawn Tate today. Donovan Mitchell, play him on FanDuel as well. Jalen Johnson, somebody else we should be looking at on FanDuel. And Chimezie Metu, who's more of a FanDuel exclusive option for you, JEW. Cubby Bear wants to know, value play to fade on DK. Value play to fade on
Sam Merrill now.
So I'm underweight to the field on Merrill. I don't want to say I have 15% of Merrill. So that means
I have 9.
So I don't want to say to outright not play him because he's in some of my lineups, but he is somebody to be underweight to, at least in my opinion.
There you go. That's the right way of looking at it.
All right. Next question is coming to us, a super chat from Cedric. So Cedric Phillips wants to know thoughts on Jared Allen on FanDuel.
Pull it up here on FanDuel.
I like Jared Allen tonight.
8,700 is a beastly tag, but again, there's going to. I mean, we've got a nearly 25% boom percentage on him. I mean, he's one of the more popular plays on DK, but I do not mind rolling with him on FanDuel today.
So he was playing limited. He was injured early in the year. He was playing some limited minutes. Now that he's fully, unleashed, like no minutes restrictions, no issues, and Darius Garland's out for the team. I mean, he's really taken on a bigger role in the offense. And by the way, it's also that we have Evan Mobley out for the team. He's taken on a bigger role on the
rebound rate has gone berserk.
The rebound rate's been super high. He's also been picking up some assists lately. He's been more of a playmaker in the absence of Darius Garland. And like you mentioned, the rebound rate has been crazy. So if you look at him over the last couple of weeks now, so last 2 weeks for Jared Allen, 20 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists per game, and then also a couple of stocks on top of that. So yeah, I like Jared Allen today, Cedric. I think you should roll with him. He's my most rostered center overall on DraftKings. Phil Senzig, Josh Green. I'm not playing Josh Green. So don't forget, we've got Kyrie Irving.
I got a little bit. I don't completely hate it. I think there's a lot of volatility to Dallas here. Tags need to start coming down a little bit on some of these guys. It's not like I'm going to play 10% of him, but I have a couple shares.
See what else we have coming in here. We'll try to answer as many of these as quickly as possible. M. Grizzly, thoughts on Alec Burks? 2 thumbs up. Eric and I are both rostering Alec Burks tonight. Matty T, favorite play 8,300 or under on FanDuel. Any position works. Okay, let's see. 8,300 or under, any position. Who do I have the most of? 8,300 or less. That is Kyle Kuzma for me on FanDuel at 8,000. The process. Are you prioritizing Donovan Mitchell tonight? Yes, prioritizing Donovan Mitchell. And the next question is from, not a question, just B. Calicor is saying that he does not think that McConnell is a thing anymore, which makes sense, right? I think one of the main reasons that we saw bigger minutes from McConnell yesterday was because Bruce Brown was out. Sotex wants to know, any chance I could get a lock play for the late slates, FanDuel and DK, one for each? I'll send that to you in Discord once we finish up here, Sotex, for the late slates. T. Ensley, 207. This is a 3v3. Giannis, Jackson, Giddey, or Mitchell. I'm going to go with option 2. Mitchell, Johnson, Pirtle, Gangrene, Jabari Smith, or Duren on DK. I prefer Duren. How about yourself, Eric? I know you're a Duren.
Oh, I'm a Duren guy.
Miami High Life, Precious worth playing his value. Yes, I think he's a serviceable value option. And then Rocky Raccoon 7, how many Dean Wades? I hope that's not
0 is hopefully the answer. Let me double check for you. If it's not 0, I'm probably fudged. 0, thank God.
Yeah, no Dean Wade. Guys, that is going to do it for us today. I'm going to be hanging out in Discord the rest of the night. So any news that breaks, which I know there aren't that many players on the injury report, but you never know what might pop up. Whatever kind of NBA injury nonsense might end up happening. We'll talk about the late slates in Discord. We'll talk about any other potential players that could get ruled out. We've got, like Josh Richardson's on the injury report, Dennis Smith Jr. So any of that stuff breaks, we'll be talking about it in Discord. If you guys want to sign up for any package at Stokastic, use the links we have below. Lineup generator, Sims tool, all of that. We've got the links for those and links to the site down below in the description box. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you have not done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great night. See you guys back here tomorrow.